sharing the truth one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network.
Hey folks, how you doing? This is the Wayne S. Spear Show podcast. Turn up some sound here. There we go. Okay, we're good. I don't know what you guys have encountered. By the way, it's the 26th of September, 2014. I don't know what you guys have encountered with YouTube or any other outlet on the internet. But the only reason why I'm getting complaints from YouTube, which I haven't had for like a couple of months, is the fact that I have music that they don't like, apparently, or that the third party, as they say, didn't authorize it. When, of course, some of the music that I use is directly from the YouTube, what is that? The video editor that they have over there, and it's music that you can use on their, channel, on their system, on their, from their company. So, doesn't make any sense to me. Have you encountered that problem? I mean, seriously. I've never, encountered, difficulty with that, but it's just, okay, I acknowledge it. Because, when you get a complaint like that, third party complaint or whatever, it's okay, I got it, whatever. And it's like, yeah, I understand. But I had to actually send them, submit a complaint to them saying, it's your music, it's music that is, it's, common use music. It's, so it's just incredible. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I feel that there are times that you just want to throw your hands up in the air and say, how many stupid people does it take to screw in a light bulb? Oh, none of them, because they have no idea what a light bulb is. You just want to punch somebody in the face because they're so stupid. It's gotten to that point, but violence is never the answer. And it has never been the answer, never will be the answer. A good question would be, if the Bible talks about thou shalt not kill or murder, willfully, then why are we going to war? And the bigger question is, why are we involving ourselves in civil wars in other countries? It doesn't really make sense. The military was for the sole purpose of the military, the United States of America, is to protect the United States of America, period. Not be sent overseas. No. If any other country requests us to help them out in their civil war, we should say, no, that's your business. I'm sorry. I mean, a lot of people say, well, whatever. They make up excuses and reasons why we need to go. No, we don't. It's the bottom line. We don't need to go. So anyway, it's one of those things. I feel, and I usually take a break at the 5 after mark, but I'll skip that one on this podcast. But I'll go at the 20 after mark. But the thing is that we have a general thought of, if we don't help somebody out, in another country, then other countries will look at us and say, oh, they're not helpful, so we're not going to call them. Well, what part of the military protects the United States do you not understand? What part of no don't you understand? We're not going to come and get involved in somebody else's civil war, period. That is just makes no sense. Now, on the other hand, I want this to be clear. If our allies that we have been friends with for years is in some sort of peril and they're unable to defend themselves efficiently or effectively, it is our allies, it is our friends, we need to help them. So there's that to talk about as well and to think about. Because if another country is attacking them and they're our allies, we have to be there to help. So there's that portion of the argument to consider. Now, when we do that and involve ourselves in something other than protecting our own shores, that costs money. And where does the military and the military-industrial complex and the federal government get the money to send to other countries and all of this and to put the gas in the vehicles for us to ship over there and all this? Where does that money come from? It comes from you and I, taxpayer. That's where it's coming from. Well, indirectly. Because first, they have to allocate billions of dollars to put into the military coffer. To put into their, that side of the thing, the armed forces. And where does that money come from? Oh, that comes from the Federal Reserve, which just goes to the Treasury and says, we need billions of dollars to put into the military coffer. And the Treasury goes, but you owe us anyway. And the Federal Reserve goes, screw you, we're going to take the money anyway. But then where does the Treasury get that money? Well, it comes from the taxpayers. So indirectly, we're funding the murder of someone else. Doesn't matter if they're our enemy. We're funding the murder of someone else. Because even our allies are getting met with enemy combatants in their country from somebody else that hates them. So we go over there and we are facilitating murder. Okay, we are going over there with our money and our resources, and we're handing it over to our allies, and they are killing other people for protection. My question is whether or not you're protecting yourself or somebody else. Killing someone is probably the very, very, very last resort anybody would ever want to take. So why are we doing it willingly or willfully? And why are we paying for it with our allies in other countries? Our military doesn't have to be over there. We just send them the equipment. We send them the money. We help them out. So, what are we doing? I don't know. The argument can be we're facilitating murder. But are we? I just don't know. There's that fine line between this is how it is and this is what we need to do to lessen the casualty rate. Okay? So, what am I talking about? My point is, in this first segment, is real simple. We have to understand what the ramifications are of going into other countries with our military and our personnel and helping others fight their battles for them and, in essence, murdering other people. Because what comes to mind is we've trained some Iraqis and some other people who have turned around and shot our own people. Yeah, that's one part of the argument as well. We're spending money to train these people, the allies or these foreign, in these foreign countries that we go into for security measures for their own country. So we train them and then we back out and they take over. Well, we've heard stories where they have turned around and killed our personnel. So why are we doing this? Why does it matter that we're over in other countries? Why perpetuate war? That's a good question, I believe. Why perpetuate war? There's no need for it. But we have people all over the place. I mean, people like Gandhi and in the past and even now we hear other people saying, why can't we just live in peace? Why can't we just live in peace? Well, because there's always an enemy out there, either manufactured in a false flag event or a literal enemy that cares nothing about peace, liberty, freedom, security, the goodness of mankind. They don't care. And without going all religious on you, I will say this. They're demonic people. They're demon-minded people. They have problems within themselves that they project on other people. They swindle and manipulate people into doing what they want. And they get what they want. And if people are so gullible into believing these demonically minded people, then they themselves are not as intelligent. Or not as, I shouldn't say intelligent, they probably are just really intelligent. They're just not aware of the tools of manipulation of these demonically minded people. So, we have that. But what is living in peace as opposed to living in a chaotic world where war seems to be the only outlet to solving any problems whatsoever? What does living in peace mean? Well, it means just that, peace. You don't have to worry about people trying to kill you. You don't have to worry about bombs going off in your area. You don't have to worry about it because it's peace. You don't get politicians with yelling their rhetoric at the top of their lungs about, we have to go to war to, punish the enemy and all this. We don't get that. I mean, there is peace. And rest and less stress, and it's just peaceful. So we have that. But what is living in peace? Living in peace also means that you can actually do something in your life, follow your own conscience, do your own thing, interact with other people very peacefully, do business very equitably and fairly, and there's peace. You don't have to, aggressively negotiate with somebody to get your way or to manipulate them in a very deceitful way to get your way. That's living in peace. Opening the doors of your business in a once war-ridden area and conducting business and living in peace. But see, we don't like that. The military-industrial complex around the world connected with very nefarious characters don't like that. They don't like that. There's a push now from those who people would consider to be part and builders and founders of this New World Order, who don't want people to be free-thinking, sovereign individuals coming together as a nation to have a sovereign, free nation of people and the rights of people to be, the forefront of somebody else's life. They don't want that. They want pure chaos. They want death. They want destruction. They want a land devoid of all freedom. And this is what they want. They don't want peace. Their meaning, their definition of equity or being equal among men is finding those people that want to annihilate freedom-loving, liberty-loving, God-loving people. And as far as I'm concerned, those people are out there. And they've got us, the freedom-loving, God-loving, liberty-loving people in their crosshairs. And they're out to get us. Don't know when. Just, I don't know. Don't know when it's going to be. But I know that if you look and listen to the news, both in the state-run media and the alternative media, you will see that there are a lot of people out there that are out to destroy the United States of America. And some of them say that they're our friends. And they're not. They're out to destroy the United States of America. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Do we have this self-defeatist attitude, or do we have an attitude of hope and how we're going to achieve the things in life that make us happy and give us peace? Do we have that? I believe that we do. I believe there are several people, more than several. I believe there are many people who want that, who want peace, freedom, liberty, and security in this nation, and understand wholeheartedly that there are other people out there that don't want us to have that. So what are they doing? Well, I look at it this way. If we have to ask if we are losing our freedoms, if we are losing our liberties, if we have to ask that, chances are we have lost them, or on the very verge in a very accelerated way to losing them at this very moment. Now, whether people want to believe that or not, that's entirely up to them. We're still at this point a free, sovereign, secure nation. Well, I shouldn't say secure, because the borders are freaking wide open that need to be closed. But we also have the idea that here's the military-industrial complex laying off, letting go, early retirement of most of its employees. And now Obama says, well, a fast track to citizenship is for the illegals who have specific job skills to join the military and to become citizens of the United States. What? So, yeah. So after the break, I'll come back and we'll get into a little bit of that, and I'll give you my opinion on that. It's very clear, folks. It's very clear. We are not a free and sovereign nation as we once were. We are under the tyrannical thumb of a very Marxist leader who, well, is also Muslim. And I don't want to hear anybody out there tell me I'm wrong. And if you do, guess what? You're going to have to prove yourself right. And if you can't do that, bye, have a nice day. I'll be back right after this. Don't wait until another natural or man-made disaster strikes. Have at least 72 hours of emergency gear near you at all times, and that includes food. Get your emergency food supply today. Go to freeamericaradio.us, and at the top of the page, click on the emergency food supply link. Help your family by purchasing as much emergency food supply as you need. You'll be helping out your family and Free America Radio Network. Thank you. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from The Views Expressed. Please come join me on The Views Expressed Live, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Spreaker, freeamericaradio.com.
This is the Free America Radio Network. For more information, go to freeamericaradio.us.
Hey, you folks. This is not the Views Express Live. That's on today at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. How you doing? This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast on the 26th of September, 2014. So what is all this about? What is life all about? Well, don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to feel secure in your own home, in your own with your own papers, with all of that, and not have anybody come into your house and just take whatever they want? Well, let's go in this direction and go to let's go to here, okay? Let me go look at something. I'm at Drudge Report, just to let you know. Okay, so let's go here. There's a lot of red highlighted headlines. The Washington Post is describing this in a headline: as U.S. takes on the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda remains degraded but not defeated. Greg Miller and Kevin Seif, I believe that's how you pronounce it, wrote this for the Washington Post. Thank you, guys. As the United States mobilized against new Islamist enemies this month, the voice of an aging adversary echoed in the distance. Ayman al-Zawahiri, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Zawahiri, there we go. One of Al-Qaeda's founders and its leader of the past 3 years, released a video announcing the formation of a new affiliate in India and lamenting the turmoil being caused by the rival Islamic State in Syria. Quote, "O Mujahideen, unite and reject differences and discord," he said, in a pleading tone that seemed to underscore the declining relevance of Al-Qaeda's core, the Pakistani-based group that orchestrated the September 11, 2001 attacks. No, they didn't orchestrate it. But Zawahiri was silent on a far more sensitive project, the creation of a cell in Syria dedicated to plots against the United States, that once again made predictions of the demise of Al-Qaeda's core seem premature. The Khorasan group, which is a made-up bogus group, by the way, which was struck but not destroyed by a barrage of U.S. cruise missiles this week, came into public view like the contents of an Al-Qaeda time capsule. It is led by all but forgotten operatives who knew Osama bin Laden before September 11th attacks, and according to U.S. officials, was assembled under the instruction of an Al-Qaeda leader approaching retirement age. Zawahiri's involvement reflects his own unwillingness to step away from a movement that in recent years has often seemed to evolve without him. But it also underscores how much remains unfinished for the United States in the conflict with Al-Qaeda, even in Afghanistan and Pakistan after 13 years of war. Although Al-Qaeda leadership ranks have been depleted and the Taliban replaced with a fledgling democracy, objectives that were viewed as critical at the outset of the war have faded into a realm of afterthought. Clusters of Al-Qaeda fighters in Afghanistan and Pakistan have outlasted the U.S. combat mission scheduled to end this year. Though driven from power, the Taliban appears poised to reclaim parts of the country it once ruled. I'm putting this up on the Free America Radio Facebook page because I'll talk more. I'll give you more opinion about that later on the Views Express Live at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Free America Radio Network. And it is important to understand a vital piece of information here. First of all, they did not orchestrate 9/11 attacks. Our own government did, with cooperation of other governments around the world, to do one thing: to get us into war. In 1993, there was a truck bomb that went off in one of the towers, and that was all set up by the CIA, FBI, and it's all come out. You can go look this up. It's come out. It's all out there. They took 8 years to perpetrate the 9/11 attacks, quote unquote, and they did what they did to get us into war because Clinton wouldn't go to war. Bush, Daddy Bush, did what he did in 91 to, try to take out a leader, and he didn't do it. Well, Bush Jr. went in to vindicate his father and went to the wrong place, but they finally got him, So it's a confusing mess, folks. This is what I was talking about in the first segment. Why do we go to war? Why do we do this? Okay. Now, there's this big thing about the borders and how terrorists are in the United States. There's cells in the United States, terrorist cells in the U.S., and they're here and they're just waiting for word from their bosses and yada, yada, yada. Okay? And I've said it before, I'll say it again. We need to close the border. Period. We need to close it. This is the way it is. We just need to close it. It's common sense. It works. And we can rebuild America. We can rebuild the United States of America. Breitbart.com, Mexican cartel beat Texan to death after kidnapping and torturing him. An American citizen was beaten to death by drug cartel members while another barely managed to survive the kidnapping and torture just south of Texas border. The two men have been identified as 38-year-old Eric Candanoza, Candanoza, and 25-year-old Carlos Vela Moreno, who are from the border city of Brownsville and were in the business of selling used cars, according to Cameron County Sheriff Omar Lucio. On Wednesday night, the sheriff's deputies arrived to the Los Indios International Bridge where the two men had arrived. Canadozan had already died, and Vela was rushed to the local hospital where investigators were able to interview him. The two men had crossed into Mexico. The men had crossed into Mexico a vehicle they were going to sell through the Progreso International Bridge and were driving towards the border city of Matamoros when their car overheated, Lucio said. Quote, they pulled over to the side of the road, and that was when two vehicles with 6 or 7 men carrying various firearms kidnapped them. They took them to a wooded area way away from any residents and began to beat them. Vela told the investigators that Candanoza took the worst of the beating since the gunman appeared to have been targeting him over a feud with a relative, Lucio told Breitbart, Texas. After the beating, the gunman took the men to a local hospital from where they were able to get transport to an international bridge. Sheriff investigators are working with the U.S. Consulate Office in Matamoros to gather more information into the case. Quote, sadly enough, the security threats continue in Mexico, and this is why I tell the public, if you don't have to go over there, don't go, Lucio said. Quote, and if you do have to go in the daytime and be very careful. I sure hope things calm down eventually, unquote. Well, they're not going to because of the drug cartels own the freaking border. Do you understand me? Close the damn border. I don't care if people are coming here through there to seek a better life from their tyrannical governments. They can either get the balls and the backbone to fight their own people over there, or they're going to die. And since they don't want to do that and they want to come over here to, try to have a better life, they're going to have problems. And the problems are with the drug cartels. It all comes back to the drug cartels, which I don't think Peña Nieto is doing anything about, although I could be wrong. Close the damn border now. And if we have to have 500,000 citizens down on that border with guns pointed to Mexico, then we're going to do it. And we're going to tell the Border Patrol, get your ass out of here, your wimpy ass little whiny bitches. Now just pack it up and leave. We'll take care of the border. I don't know. I get so frustrated with people who say, but, there are some people coming over here that are trying to get away from some serious problems in their country because they don't have the balls to deal with it. They don't have the backbone to deal with it. But they've tried, and then half of their family's dead because blah, 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 blah. The only other option we have other than closing the border is to invade Mexico and to wipe out all the drug cartels. But that is not what the U.S. Justice Department wants. Oh, did you hear? Eric Holder is resigning. I don't know who they're going to get, but I bet you anything they're going to get somebody in there just as bad as he is, who's going to be dealing with the drug cartels in Mexico. You need guns? There you go. Because guess what? The court system, the judicial system, all of that it works, and they all have jobs because of the drug money that's coming in here and because of the people here that get arrested and are fined and jailed for the drugs they take that the government brings into the United States. You see how that works? That's like me hiring you to do a job and telling you, okay, I want you to mow my lawn. I want you to, help me paint the house. I'll help you, but I'll pay you to help me. But I also want you to go over here, and I'll pay you to mow that person's lawn over there. So if you take that, then the whole Justice Department said, yes, we want you, Mexican drug cartel, to bring the drugs into the United States so that we can arrest people, so we can find them and take the money from them so we can pay you. That's exactly what they're doing. Okay? We need to close the damn border. Period. End of sentence. Done. But if that doesn't work, we need to invade Mexico and wipe out all the drug cartels. Number 2. Here's why number 2 won't work. Because the United States Justice Department and about 30% to 35% of the American judicial system in the U.S. is making money from the drug cartels indirectly through the fines and the bail and all of that from the drug dealers here, from the general public here who get caught with the drugs and have to go to court and go to jail and all that. Okay? Now, I might be wrong on that percentage. It might be higher, that might be lower than that. Want to send me some information? Please do. FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com. FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com. I really want to know what your take is on this. Really want to know how you view all of this. Okay? Here's something else, and this is another reason why we need to close the damn border. Breitbart.com, U.S., most new immigrant families fail to report. For nearly 3 months this summer, the Obama administration carefully avoided answering questions about what happened to tens of thousands of immigrant families caught illegally crossing the Mexican border and released into the United States with instructions to report back to immigration authorities. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson and others said they faced deportation, but it turns out that tens of thousands of those immigrants did not follow the government's instructions to meet with federal immigration agents within 15 days. Instead, they have vanished into the interior of the U.S. The Homeland Security Department privately acknowledged that about 70% of the immigrant families failed to report as ordered. The disclosure came during a confidential meeting at its Washington headquarters with immigration advocates participating in a federal working group on detention and enforcement policies. The Associated Press obtained an audio recording of Wednesday's meeting and separately interviewed participants. On the recording, the government did not specify the total number of families released into the U.S. since October. Since only a few hundred families have already been returned to their home countries and limited U.S. detention facilities can house only about 1,200 family members, the 70% figure suggests the government released roughly 41,000 members of immigrant families who subsequently failed to appear at federal immigration offices. The official, who was not identified by name on the recording, also said final deportation had been ordered for at least 860 people traveling as families caught at the border since May, but only 14 people had reported as ordered. Overall, about 25% of the immigrants facing deportation do not show up for court hearings, according to court data maintained by the Justice Department's Executive Office on Immigration Review. The Homeland Security Department did not dispute the authenticity of the recording. In an email statement Thursday, Immigration and Custom Enforcement spokeswoman Gillian Christensen said that no-show figure represented, quote, an approximate snapshot, unquote, of cases since May. Christensen said some people may still report to immigration court hearings, and a, quote, significant, unquote, number of deportation cases are still pending before judges. The AP reported in June that the administration would not say publicly how many immigrant families from Central America caught crossing into the U.S. it had released in recent months, or how many of these subsequently reported back to the government after 15 days as directed. The AP noted that senior U.S. officials directly familiar with the issue, including at the Homeland Security Department and White House, had dodged the answer on at least 7 occasions over 2 weeks, alternately saying that they did not know the figure or didn't have it immediately at hand. I'm going to put this on the Free America Radio Facebook page for discussions later on the views expressed live. And I don't know, folks. I mean, we can go all around this. We can go one side or the other. I believe we need to close the border. That is the simplest thing to do now. Simplest. Other people, and as I have said before, one part of the argument would be to invade Mexico and get rid of all the drug cartels. But then our Justice Department and judicial system would lose about 30% of its income at that point. Or more. It might be a little more than that. But what do? Do we have a comprehensive immigration plan that would, get the process a little more streamlined if that's the case, if that's what they want? Or are we just going to continue to sit here as Americans and allow these borders to be open and amnesty to be declared by the president, illegally, by the way, unconstitutionally through executive order? Are we going to do this? I hope not, because that's kind of stupid. I'll be back right after this. The BK Factor. with your host Brian Keller on the Shake and Wake Radio Network, shakeandwakeradio.com. The storm is on the horizon. The system of government that we currently have in this country is collapsing. We are on the brink of total disaster as a nation, a people, and a planet. Who or what can save us? Listen to The Views Expressed live Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific at freeamericaradio.us. The world as we know it is changing. We must speak out against the tyranny in our country. Stand up, speak out, get involved. Live Truth Radio, the reality underneath the honesty. LiveTruthRadio.com.
You know, we gotta keep meeting like this.
I've lots of playthings, a dolly or two. We live in the house across the way.
Well, that was new.
Is there any insanity in your family? Ain't it awful?
Attention passengers, this is your captain speaking. Please fasten your seatbelts. The approach will get a little rough.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. Defending liberty and freedom. Fighting the New World Order. This is the Free America Radio Network. Hey, folks, this is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 26th of September 2014. How are you today? It's good. It's a good day. It's a good day. You woke up. You're there, you're happening, everything's going on. I got my coffee, as cold as it is. It's, I didn't drink it when it was hot. So anyway, I want to know, I have a question for you. The question is this. If you knew, say you wake up in the morning, you go outside to get your paper, and you go outside to get your paper, but there's a note attached to your door. In this note, you read it, and it tells you what is going to happen, who is going to commit certain things or implement certain laws. And it tells you what time, what day, or generalizes and say it could be within a certain period of time. What would you do? Would you throw it away? Would you try to find out who it was that wrote this? Okay, let me extrapolate from there. If you went out to get your paper off of the porch or out of your mailbox, and you saw a manila envelope, and in this manila envelope, it had a cover letter showing, same thing before. It told you, whatever. But additionally, it had pictures. It had, names. It had this. It had certain areas. It had, whatever. What would you do? What would you do? Well, let me take that scenario to this level. You come back into the house with that manila envelope and your newspaper. You set that manila envelope down because you're curious. You're like, why did somebody send me this? And then your phone rings. Your cell phone rings. It says unknown caller. Usually people do not answer unknown calls. I know this. I do this myself. But something in you says you better answer this. So you answer it. And the person on the phone says, did you get the envelope? Here's what I want you to do with it. What would you do? What would you do? How would you manage your day if that was the case? Would you take that envelope to the police station? Would you take that envelope to the FBI? Would you take that envelope to the Department of Homeland Security? Because as Janet Napolitano said, if you see something, say something, right? I myself personally would wonder. I myself would request a meeting with the person on the phone. I would see what their purpose is to send me this information, and I would ask questions, and I would value their answers and make my decisions from there before I do anything else. Now, why would I do that? Because it's the right thing to do. Because you have no idea what's in this envelope. This manila envelope comes to you, you got pictures, you got names, you got dates, you got situations and circumstances going to happen, and it's going to happen this way, and you know all this information. So by going to the authorities, that might just you've just signed your own death warrant, apparently. Because obviously somebody knows you, and somebody knows what you can do, and they trust you, obviously. Well, trust is a lack of a better word for that, but yes. But what would you do? Send me some email, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Put in the subject line radio. That way I know you heard this program. Onward and upward to the last segment of the show. I'm over on Drudge Report. New tropical virus spread by mosquitoes arriving in Latin America, or arriving from Latin America. That's interesting. Outbreak of a respiratory illness mystifies scientists. I'm looking at drudgereport.com, by the way. And I want to give you this from the Washington Free Beacon staff yesterday. Headline, Wasserman Schultz repeats Republican insults. She is Democratic National Committee Chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz is failing to deliver original rhetoric against her Republican foes. On 2 occasions, she charged the Republican governors insulted women with a, quote, back of their hands, unquote. Wasserman Schultz, the congresswoman from Florida's 23rd District, was forced to apologize earlier this month after she accused Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker of using the back of his hand against women. Politico reported that. Quote, Scott Walker has given women the back of his hand. I know that is stark. I know that is direct, but it is reality, unquote, Wasserman Schultz said during a roundtable meeting in Wisconsin. At Charlie Crist's primary victory party a month before, the chairwoman made a similar remark against Florida Governor Rick Scott. Wasserman Schultz applauded Crist, a former Republican, and slammed Scott, quote, it's Charlie Crist, the Democrat, that had my back, unquote. She said, quote, Rick Scott has given us the back of his hand, unquote. Wasserman Schultz made headlines last week when Politico reported that many Democratic leaders, including those in the White House, doubted her ability to lead the party. Well, why don't they just kick her ass out then? And here's something of a... Well, I'll read that one, but here's the first... here's the first one I want to read. The Washington Post is reporting FBI blasts Apple and Google for locking police out of phones. FBI Director, this is by Craig Timberg and Greg Miller, thank you guys over at Washington Post. FBI Director James B. Comey sharply criticized Apple and Google on Thursday for developing forms of smartphone encryption so secure that law enforcement officials cannot easily gain access to information stored on the devices, even when they have valid search warrants. His comments were the most forceful yet from a top government official, but echo a chorus of denunciation from law enforcement officials nationwide. Police have said that the ability to search photos, messages, and web histories on smartphones is essential in solving a range of serious crimes, including murder, child pornography, and attempted terrorist attacks. Quote, there will come a day when it will matter a great deal to the lives of the people that we will be able to gain access, unquote, to such devices, Comey told reporters in a briefing. Quote, I want to have that conversation with companies responsible before that day comes, unquote. Comey added the FBI officials already have made initial contact with the two companies, which announced their new smartphone encryption initiatives last week. He said he could not understand why companies would, quote, market something expressly to allow people to place themselves beyond the law, unquote. Comey's remarks followed news last week that Apple's latest mobile operating system, iOS 8, is so thoroughly encrypted that the company is unable to lock iPhones and iPads for police. Google, meanwhile, is moving to an automatic form of encryption for its newest version of Android operating system that the company also will not be able to unlock, though it will take longer for that new feature to reach most customers. Interesting. The government wants to know everything about you. They want these cell phone companies to give them full access to everything on your phone, which of course they do anyway. And then they set up these fake cell phone towers to get the information from you. So why would the FBI want the encryption to be less secure when they can just grab it off at a freaking fake cell phone towers that they have? Okay? Just doesn't make any sense to me. We're being monitored, surveilled. It's all there. It's all in your face. You don't like it. You better do something about it. Oh, and by the way, from the Washington Post again, thank you, Josh Hicks, over at the Washington Post, for this article from yesterday. Mail and milk. Struggling postal service wants to deliver groceries. Yeah. You order it and it gets there when? You order groceries for today and it gets there in a week? What? I don't get that. After nearly 6 years of multi-billion-dollar losses, the U.S. Postal Service has developed a new plan to help turn its finances around. Daily grocery deliveries. The Postal Service sent its proposal to the Postal Regulatory Commission on Tuesday, seeking approval from the panel. The agency wants to begin testing on October 24th with a process lasting up to 2 years, although it could choose to make the program permanent at a sooner date. Under the plan, USPS would work with retail partners to deliver groceries and other prepackaged goods to homes between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. at the locations designated by consumers. Participating grocery stores would have to drop off their orders at post offices between 1:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Quote, ultimately, the Postal Service expects this will generate more package deliveries that do not currently move within the postal system, unquote, the agency said in its proposal. Quote, grocery deliveries are expanding across nation with several different types of companies beginning to offer this service in recent months, unquote. USPS has not specified what its delivery prices would be or which cities and retailers would be involved in the program. The Postal Service has already tested the program, toting groceries for Amazon.com in the San Francisco area. According to the proposal, USPS averaged 160 deliveries per day in 38 zip codes. USPS has partnered with several retailers over the past year in an effort to generate new revenue for the cash-strapped agency. In November, the Postal Service agreed to a partnership with Amazon that allows the online retailer to ship packages on Sundays at regular rates. Previously, the agency charged an extra fee for delivering on Sundays. Also in November, USPS announced that it would team up with Staples Office Supply Chain to open postal centers at 82 of its stores nationwide. Not to mention the drones from Amazon. Now, a little something that I want to share with you in the last few minutes here. From The Hollywood Reporter, John Cusack blasts Hollywood studio system, ageism. Quote, "It's a whorehouse and people go mad," unquote, said John Cusack in describing present-day Hollywood in an interview with The Guardian published on Friday. Promoting his latest film, David Cronenberg's Maps to the Stars, Cusack didn't hold back, criticizing ageism in Hollywood, as well as misogyny and what he sees as an increasingly broken studio system. Maps, which screened in Cannes this year, in the Cannes Film Festival, is a satire of Hollywood, with Cusack starring as a wealthy self-help guru and an ensemble cast that includes Robert Pattinson, Julianne Moore, and Mia Wasikowska. Quote, "LA seems to be a place where a guy can say he's a life coach, channeler, masseur," unquote, Cusack told The Guardian. Quote, "It just seems to be ripe with all these frontier crazies because it says people are looking to turn their pain into beautiful art, but they also want to be famous, and there's so much money. So, of course, all the predators come in," unquote. He says in the wide-ranging interview, Cusack also railed against the issue of age in Hollywood, which is laid bare in Maps. Quote, "I got another 15, 20 years before they say I'm old. For women, it's brutal. Bruce's thing about if you're 26, you're menopausal. It's only absurd because it's a little bit further from the truth," unquote. He added, "I have actress friends who are being put out to pasture at 29. They just want to open another can of Hot 22. It's becoming almost like kiddie porn," unquote. I'm going to put this on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page, just for all you to take a gander at this, because I believe that Hollywood has literally lost its foundational beliefs in making good movies. Same thing with Broadway in New York. They have lost the purpose that they've set out to achieve. They have a purpose. They had a goal, I should say. They lost their way in achieving that goal that they wanted, and their purpose seems to have fallen. And I agree. You've got regurgitation, remakes, reboots. You've got Broadway in New York taking films and turning them into Broadway musicals or Broadway plays. Why? Because nobody has original ideas anymore. And there's no options for writers like myself or any number of my friends who are write plays and such, to be able to send those ideas to Hollywood and get anybody to notice them. They just want to regurgitate all this old stuff. But again, as far as ageism, if you're 29, 30, 35, you're done in Hollywood. It used to be 50 and 60, but you're done. By the time you're 29, 30, 35, you're done. That's why a lot of Hollywood actors are going to New York and getting on Broadway because, hey, they're still acting and they're getting paid for it. So, hey, folks, I got to get out of here. I will talk to you later on the Views Express live today at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Free America Radio Network on Spreaker.com and on freeamericaradio.us.